La Rochefoucauld says we all have the strength enough to endure the misfortune of others. The story begins with a young girl sitting in fear. Tears fill her eyes, and her breathing becomes fast and uneven. Heavy shackles lock around her feet. Deep scratches cover her body, and blood flows from her wounded legs. Pain and regret overwhelm her. She feels trapped and helpless. She wonders why cruel traps block her path and why she is not allowed to escape. She looks toward the sea and realizes she has already come very far. Her shelter stands right in front of her, so close that it feels reachable. At that moment, a tall and muscular man appears behind her. He wears a tie and grips a large cleaver in his hand. Fear takes over her body. She suddenly turns back and notices the man wearing a pig mask. The beast stares at her without emotion. Terror tightens her chest, and her body freezes. The monster keeps watching her. Without warning, he swings the cleaver toward her. In panic, she screams and raises her hands to protect herself. The sharp blade slices through her fingers. Tears fall from her eyes as she watches her fingers separate from her hand. Her fear grows stronger. Loud screams escape her mouth as she realizes death now stands in front of her. The beast grabs her thin wrists with his massive hands. He lifts her into the air while she screams in pain. He brings his face close to hers and locks eyes with her. She cries and begs for mercy. She promises obedience and pleads to be set free. The monster shows no pity. He opens his wide mouth and bites into her wounded hand. He chews her flesh slowly. Her body hangs between life and death. Pain forces her to scream non-stop. The sound of bones and flesh fills the air as the beast continues chewing. After a moment, he stops. He raises the cleaver high and strikes her head with full force. The blade cuts through her skull and reaches her neck. Even then, he continues eating her flesh. Her body falls to the ground, but the monster keeps chewing as if the act brings him pleasure. Her lifeless body is asking for sympathy. Soon after, the sound of a fast-moving boat cuts through the silence. The pig-masked man-killer turns around and sees a large yacht approaching. A young boy wearing a hoodie stands on the deck. Blood stains the killer's face as he looks toward the boy. On the yacht, the boy holds his phone and struggles to find a signal. Suddenly, an uneasy feeling passes through him. He turns toward the island's forest, but nothing appears. He softly wonders why it feels like someone is watching him. The beast reaches a high cliff. He holds the girl's body in one hand and the cleaver in the other. In a low voice, he spreads the message that only death exists on this island. He speaks with cruel satisfaction, as if thanking fate. The island is large and surrounded by the sea. A thick jungle covers every part of it. Nearby, the yacht passes close to the shore. Inside the forest, the beast runs alongside the boat while carrying the girl's corpse. On the yacht, Takahashi remains lost in thought. From behind, Fuji asks why he looks so worried. Laughingly, Takahashi explains that he felt someone watching them from the island. Fuji reacts playfully and wonders if it could be a cute guy. Takahashi denies it and explains that nothing appeared when he looked again. Kuraki, a girl wearing glasses, suddenly suggests it could be a ghost. Both turn toward her in shock. Kuraki calmly continues reading her book. She explains that the spirits of people who lived on this island long ago follow visitors who come from outside. Fuji and Takahashi laugh at her words. Takahashi jokingly thinks this means they have walked into a dangerous trap. Kuraki becomes nervous. Takahashi looks amazed. Moments later, Kuraki covers her mouth and runs to the edge of the yacht to vomit. Fuji comments that such things happen when someone reads on a moving boat. A tall boy warns everyone not to dirty the yacht. He explains that he borrowed this cruiser from his father just for them. Tomoko, a small girl with a cute face, looks toward the driver. The boy adds that his father would scold them if the yacht gets dirty. Nearby, Aino takes photos. Fuji apologizes and teases the seniors for caring more about the boat than their juniors. Tomoko laughs softly. Takahashi watches her quietly. Takahashi explains that they are all part of a research society from university. They study abandoned areas. This island is known for its ruined and deserted villages. The yacht belongs to Higashi's family. They have come to explore a destroyed settlement on a deserted island. Everyone becomes excited when they spot an old tower. Aino takes pictures and says it feels like time stopped here. He asks Higashi if they can go onto the island. Higashi refuses and explains that the area is too old and dangerous. Hidden obstacles under the sea could damage the yacht. Aino begs with folded hands, but Higashi stays firm. Fuji helps Kuraki as she recovers from nausea. She suggests medicine might help. Takahashi grows tired and says he wants to go home. He feels no interest in any of this. Ino continues requesting Higashi but he denies. Suddenly, Tomoko grabs Higashi's arm. Takahashi oddly glares at her. In the very next moment, she claims there are pigs on the other side. Aino reacts with shock. Higashi questions her words. Aino assumes she is mistaken and asks her to apologize. Takahashi begins shaking. Tomoko insists she is not joking and points again. Everyone looks in that direction. On a hill, pigs graze peacefully. As the yacht moves closer, many more pigs appear and they all get surprised. Higashi assumes they escaped from a farm and adapted to the wild. Aino finds it strange that so many pigs exist here. Takahashi also wonders why they are on this island. Aino suggests pig breeding, but Higashi dismisses the idea because the island is completely abandoned. Aino opens his bag and regrets not researching before coming. Takahashi asks for the island's name. Aino pulls out a large smart device called the 202HT. He explains that it can capture signals anywhere. The device identifies the island as Kikuchijima. Suddenly, Aino freezes. Higashi looks confused. The device shows no data about the island. It does not appear on any map. This means the island officially does not exist. Tomoko admits she feels scared. Higashi asks everyone to stop unsettling him. Fuji questions what is happening, since the island was known to be deserted. Kuraki reminds them of the shadows she warned about. Fuji tells her to stay quiet. Takahashi feels irritated by the chaos. Moments later, smoke rises from the island. Takahashi notices it and shouts in panic. Fire burns on the shore, and a man sits behind the smoke. Everyone feels shocked to see someone living on this island. The man is the same killer from before. He sits with his head lowered behind the smoke. Fuji notices he wears a suit and assumes he survived some accident. Higashi decides to take action. He hands control of the yacht to the others, removes his shirt, and dives into the sea. No one manages to stop him. They shout from behind, but Higashi ignores them and swims fast toward the shore. Kuraki and Fuji feel impressed. Tomoko blushes. Takahashi notices her reaction and stays silent. He feels exhausted with their deeds. Higashi reaches the shore and walks toward the smoke. The group feels relieved, but Takahashi remains uneasy. Higashi stretches out his hand to check on the man. In the next moment, fear freezes his eyes wide open. A giant figure stands before him. The pig-masked man monster holds a massive hammer. Higashi realizes the danger too late. On the yacht, everyone stares in shock at the creature's size. Fuji assumes the man might be a foreigner wearing something on his head. The monster lifts the hammer high. Everyone gets stunned. With brutal force, he strikes Higashi's head. Panic erupts on the yacht. The beast attacks again and again. Higashi continues screaming while blood spreads across the ground. From the yacht, the others freeze in terror. They watch everything from a distance, unable to move or help. Their minds fail to understand what is happening. Higashi begs for his life, but the pig-masked man keeps striking his face with the hammer. Kuraki feels sick and starts vomiting. Aino trembles in fear. Fuji tries to calm Kuraki, but fear overwhelms her. Aino loses control and wets himself while standing there in shock. Takahashi feels fear, yet a strange smile appears on his face as he watches Higashi being beaten. Tomoko notices this and reacts in anger. She cannot understand why he is smiling at such a moment. She demands to know if this looks like a joke to him. She screams that instead of smiling, he should go and help. She challenges him to prove his courage by swimming to save Higashi. Takahashi looks at her and questions why he should risk his life for Higashi. Tears fill Tomoko's eyes. Fuji points out that Takahashi would never do that because Higashi is his love rival. Tomoko adds that Takahashi has feelings for her. Takahashi freezes in shock and quickly denies it. Tomoko stares at him with anger and calls him a terrible person. Takahashi flinches. Tomoko announces that she is going by herself. Takahashi tries to stop her, but she jumps into the water and starts swimming toward the island. Takahashi stands stunned. Fuji shouts at him and asks if he will let Tomoko die. She orders him to go after her. Takahashi questions why Fuji says such things at a moment like this. Fuji angrily reveals that everyone knows Takahashi always watches Tomoko and never looks at other girls. She forces him to jump into the water and save her. Takahashi looks around in panic. He notices that Aino has also lost control from fear and admits he cannot leave the steering wheel. Fuji yells again, demanding Takahashi hurry. This time, both Fuji and Kuraki scream at him to move. Both girls are becoming hysterical. Under pressure, Takahashi finally jumps into the sea. Takahashi swims toward the shore, driven by panic rather than courage. Fuji notices the phone and thinks about calling the police. Takahashi curses his fate in his mind. He wonders why he must save someone who likes the same girl as him. As these thoughts cloud his mind, his breathing grows heavy. Water fills his lungs, and his body sinks downward. He reaches the sea floor and notices strange biomedical waste scattered below. Seeing the metal containers shocks him. He wonders what truly happened here on the Earth. On the yacht, Fuji tries to turn on the phone, but it does not respond. Aino explains that the battery may be dead, but anyhow it was fully charged earlier. Kuraki looks into the water and notices several sunken boats below. Their yacht passes dangerously close to the wrecks. She screams to warn the others. Before they can react, the yacht speeds up and crashes into a submerged boat. The balance breaks, and all three fall hard onto the deck. Meanwhile, Takahashi reaches the shore with heavy breathing. He finds the island disturbing and strange. The image of biomedical waste remains stuck in his mind. He wonders if this place is an illegal dumping ground. He steadies himself and moves toward Tomoko. Tomoko stands nearby, shaken and silent. Takahashi checks if she is safe and asks about Higashi. Tomoko explains that when she arrived, both Higashi and the masked man had already disappeared. They look toward the smoke. Tomoko believes the man took Higashi away and left only fire behind. The smoke rises thick and fast. When Tomoko sees the flames clearly, she drops to the ground in shock. Takahashi stares at the fire and senses something strange within it. He steps closer and smells something terrible. He covers his nose. Suddenly, he sees a burning human body inside the fire. The body still burns. As he moves closer and slightly looks carefully, he stumbles back in horror. The realization hits him hard. He believes the masked man killed someone here. He trembles and assumes Higashi witnessed it and was killed next. After a moment, Takahashi decides they must escape immediately. He rushes toward Tomoko, lifts her weak body, and urges her to return to the boat. Tomoko weakly asks about Higashi. Takahashi refuses to think about it now. He reminds her of the burned body. This is not something they should get involved in, and insists they must leave and call the police. Fear overwhelms Takahashi. In the next moment, he freezes when he sees their yacht overturned and sinking. Fate turns cruel against them. He gets stunned for a while. Nearby, the others struggle desperately to survive. They scream that the boat is sinking and they are trapped on the island. Takahashi stands there in shock. He realizes they are now stranded on this island with the murderer. From the shadows of the trees, someone watches them silently. The pig-masked man stands nearby another chubby person whose face remains hidden. He carries the Higashi body over his shoulder. Noticing the group, he feels pleased. He asks the other guy if he did well. The unseen man praises calmly and calls him a good boy. On the other side, Aino freezes in fear and his eyes wide open. Fuji and Tomoko fall into the same terrified state. Takahashi and Tomoko stare at the body burning in the fire. Smoke rises as flesh continues to burn. Shock and fear trap everyone in silence. They stand before a burning corpse and cannot process what they are seeing. They are trapped on this island with a murderer. Panic spreads as they begin discussing what to do next. Aino believes the safest option is to stay in one place and wait for a boat. Fuji reacts angrily and refuses to remain beside a dead body. Aino admits he also wants to leave, but sees no better choice. Fuji reminds them that the killer is still hiding somewhere in the forest. Aino repeats that waiting is the safest option. Kuraki speaks softly and shares a darker thought. She believes no rescue boat will come. She explains that she saw many sunken boats around the island. No one would risk coming here. Her words shock Aino and Fuji. She adds that it feels like those boats were sunk on purpose. In simple terms, she believes this island is a trap. Fear spreads across their faces. Kuraki begins crying and says that everyone who comes to this island gets killed, and now they are here too. Aino and Fuji tell her to stop talking. Takahashi closes his eyes and thinks deeply. He realizes there is no doubt they are in the worst possible situation. If they are not killed, dehydration may still take their lives. He believes they must leave the shore as soon as possible. Suddenly, someone gently pulls his shirt from behind. He turns and sees Tomoko. Calmly, she asks when they are going to search for Higashi. Takahashi looks into her eyes. Tomoko urges him to hurry. She fears that the man may have already killed Higashi, and she insists they must save him quickly. Behind them, Aino shouts that if his smartphone was not broken, he might have been able to do something. Fuji and Aino begin arguing over the phone. Takahashi listens and tells them to let it go. Suddenly he remembers they saw a village near the island earlier. He suggests there may be a radio there. The others turn toward him. Aino agrees and says it is a good option. He believes the radio line may still be active. Fuji adds that there could even be a boat they can use to escape. Takahashi urges them to move toward the village. Kuraki hesitates and reminds them they must cross the forest to reach it. She warns them not to forget that the killer is hiding in that forest. Silence falls over the group. Takahashi looks at Kuraki and questions why she brings this up at such a moment. He then remembers the biomedical waste he saw underwater. He calls out and tells them that this may be disturbing, but there is no other option. He explains that he saw biomedical waste here. From behind, Tomoko speaks firmly and tells everyone to leave immediately. Takahashi looks at her with surprise. Tomoko urges them to hurry toward the village. She warns that if night falls, complete darkness will cover the island and they could be attacked at any moment. She explains that there are 4 of them now, while the killer is alone. That may be the only reason he has not attacked yet. She raises her voice and demands they move. The others look at her silently. Kuraki agrees that Tomoko is right. Fuji asks what they should do. Aino agrees and says once darkness arrives, they will never reach the village. He insists they must leave now. Takahashi watches their reactions and realizes they have finally accepted the plan. He silently thanks Tomoko. When he turns back, he sees that Tomoko has already walked far ahead. She moves forward alone. Takahashi thinks she is only focused on Higashi right now. He calls out to her and asks her to slow down, but she keeps walking. He finally catches up from behind. All 4 tie leaves around their legs and move through the forest. Aino asks if they are walking in the right direction. Kuraki answers calmly that they just need to move straight ahead. She explains that the island is small, and they will soon reach the other side. Mosquitoes begin attacking them. Fuji complains and asks someone to do something. Aino dismisses it and says they are just mosquitoes. Moments later, he freezes when he feels something crawling on his skin. He looks down and sees a leech sucking blood from his arm. Shock takes over. He realizes these are not mosquitoes but leeches. He notices them crawling up his neck as well. The others panic when they see leeches on themselves. Leeches cling to Takahashi's legs, Fuji's arms, and Kuraki's stomach. They struggle to remove them. Tomoko pulls one off her elbow and tells everyone to throw them away and keep moving. Suddenly, Tomoko freezes. Takahashi notices she has stopped completely. He rushes to her side and speaks with relief, thinking they finally exited the forest. In the next moment, both of them freeze in horror. Before them lie large cross sleeves covered with old corpses. Crows are circling above them. The scene resembles no less than a demonic graveyard. Nails are hammered in their feet. One woman's body has only strands of hair left. Her flesh is gone, leaving only bones. Takahashi panics and screams. Everyone reacts in terror. They cannot believe they have reached the village. The sight feels like the end of the world. None of them understand what is happening. Aino steps closer and carefully examines the bodies. He notices that each corpse lies on a sleeve with a name written above it. One reads Santa Maria. He adjusts his glasses and tries to read others. One says Lusa. The second one says Jonas and the other says Marco. Their flesh is badly demolished. He recognizes the names and explains that they appear in the Bible. He notices that all the bodies wear rosaries. His words shock the others. He explains that he once read about this on an online forum. During the Edo era, there was a hidden Christian group that came to this island long ago. Hearing this, fear spreads across their faces. Aino explains that during the Tokugawa period, Christianity was illegal in Japan. The government heavily pressured believers. Many Christians fled and hid. One group escaped to this island. Because they had no priest, their beliefs slowly changed. Over time, during the Meiji period, Christian missionaries came to Japan and were horrified by what they found. These people offered humans as sacrifices to God. They consumed human flesh and drank human blood. The group listens in complete shock. Aino adds that the Tokugawa shogunate once mentioned this belief as an urban legend religion during one of its campaigns. Takahashi finds it hard to believe such a legend could be real. Fuji screams in disbelief and questions whether this island truly exists. Sweat runs down Aino's face as he admits they may have entered a lawless place where no rules exist. Crows circle above as silence surrounds them. Tomoko struggles to understand everything she hears. Suddenly, she notices another body. This one still has hair on its head and a beard on its face. The body looks thin, but fresher than the others. She softly says that the body still looks alive. At that moment, the man opens his eyes. Tomoko gasps in shock. The man slowly turns his neck and looks at her with widened eyes. Tomoko screams unconsciously. The others ask what happened. She tells them that the man on the slab is alive. The man opens his eyes wider and looks at them. Fear grips everyone. He cries and hopes they are not from this island and not connected to those strange people. The group stares at him in silence. They quickly remove him from the cross. Relief fills his face. He feels grateful to be saved and has almost given up hope for a miracle. He repeatedly thanks Takahashi and asks where their boat is. Takahashi looks at him uneasily. The man desperately asks them to let him use their boat to escape. The group exchanges worried looks. Aino speaks from behind and explains that the boat sank after colliding with submerged wrecks. He admits they are now trapped on the island. The weak man holds his head in despair. He thought help had finally arrived. Fuji assures him that they are all in the same situation now and must help each other survive. Aino introduces them as university students who came to study abandoned areas. He forces a weak smile and says he is glad they found another survivor. Tomoko suddenly notices something strange. She points out that nails are not driven into the man's feet, unlike the other bodies whose hands and feet were nailed. Takahashi looks at her in shock. Aino asks the man if he was involved with the same boat. The weak man denies it. He explains that he was brought here by force. He failed to repay a debt, so the mafia abandoned him on this island. Everyone freezes there as they hear about the mafia. Takahashi asks in shock if the people behind all this are truly mafia members. The man confirms it and explains that a group of mafia brought him here. He adds he was not alone. Many people like him were dragged to this island by fate. Some failed to repay their debts and could not escape the mafia. Among them were a student running a political campaign, a journalist exposing corporate and political scandals, and several elderly people abandoned by their families. All of them were brought to this island and left behind. A thug tied everyone's hands. One by one, he killed some people and spared others. Those who were spared were thrown onto the shore alive. Everyone felt terrified and began screaming in panic. The thug badly kicked a shivering old man and threw him into the sea. When the survivors reached the shore, they froze in fear. Standing in front of them was the pig-masked man. He waited calmly with a chainsaw in his hands. It seemed as if he had been already informed of their arrival. Their hands were still tied. The pig-masked man looked at them and started laughing. He pulled the cord and turned on the chainsaw. When they looked back, they saw the mafia boat moving away from the shore. The pig-masked man charged toward them while revving the chainsaw. In his hands, the chainsaw became a clear symbol of death. Everyone screamed in terror. He ran toward a young woman as the others scattered in panic. The girl stood frozen in fear. She lost control of herself and wet her clothes. The pig-masked man swung the chainsaw violently. Blood sprayed everywhere. The girl screamed as, within seconds, her left arm was cut off. Blood poured from her wound as she cried in agony. The pig-masked man revved the chainsaw again and split her head down the middle. Her body collapsed as blood scattered across the ground. The man explains that everyone lost their senses for a moment after witnessing such horror. After that, they were kept alive, but their desire to escape completely died. He explains that this island is a human disposal site for the mafia. No one is meant to leave. Hearing this, Fuji and Kuraki cling to each other in fear. They regret ever coming here. Aino wonders if the police know about this place. The man calmly explains that he already said this island is used for people considered a threat to the government. There is no chance the police will come to save anyone. Aino freezes and realizes the meaning behind those words. He understands that the government itself is involved. The man quietly explains that this island is a human wasteland and its existence is a secret. That is why it does not appear on any map. Takahashi listens silently. He begins to realize that not only people are dumped here, but nuclear waste as well. Tomoko then asks why he earlier said they were kept alive on purpose. Everyone turns toward her in surprise. She calmly explains that the pig-masked man does not kill everyone at once. She notices that this man's body is different from the others. No nails were driven into his body. This suggests that the pig-masked man never intended to kill him. Tomoko reaches a shocking conclusion. She believes the man is a partner of the pig-masked man killer and was tied up for a mistake he made. Everyone freezes after hearing this. The man closes his eyes and admits that she is very sharp. He reveals that he is a caretaker. Hearing this word, everyone, including Tomoko, is left stunned. The scene shifts to Higashi. His face is badly torn, and his body hangs upside down. Voices echo nearby. The pig-masked man looks at Higashi's face and slowly licks his lips. The room is filled with corpses and bloodstains. The people lie with their hands tied. Other side, the caretaker explains that the pig-masked man does not kill his captives quickly. He enjoys torturing them first and slowly killing them. After killing them, he eats them. Everyone stands frozen in horror. Aino struggles to believe it and wonders if the man truly eats people. The caretaker explains that it is only his assumption, but all signs point to cannibalism. This explanation terrifies them even more. The caretaker adds that this is why there are no bones or remains found on the island. The pig-masked man is extremely useful to the mafia. He explains that because he himself is thin and bony, the pig-masked man did not find him appealing to eat. That is why he was spared and given the role of caretaker. He explains he once helped a woman escape. As punishment, the pig-masked man tied him to a cross. He speaks of this with a faint laugh. This strange laughter deeply unsettles Takahashi. He believes the man's mind may have broken under these conditions. Tomoko softly states that Higashi is still alive. She believes he has not been killed yet because the pig-masked man does not kill immediately. Takahashi looks at her with cold eyes. The caretaker then explains that the village lies ahead. When everyone looks toward it, they freeze in shock. The entire village is destroyed. Buildings are collapsed and crushed. Everything lies in ruins. It looks like complete devastation spread across the area. The caretaker suddenly looks up at the sky. Darkness slowly spreads as evening approaches. He calmly states that sunset is a very bad sign. After that, everyone goes to the sea to catch fish. All of them feel excited while holding fishing rods, except Takahashi. The others happily throw their lines into the water. Takahashi stands quietly with a gloomy face. He suddenly looks back toward the village and realizes there is nothing there. The only thing they find is a single water tap that is still running. There is no boat and no telephone for contact. Kuraki tries dialing a phone, but the line is dead. Moments later, Fuji steps on a piece of glass. Pain strikes her foot, and she starts limping badly. Takahashi drinks water from the tap. Both girls grow restless. One is starving, and the other cannot walk properly. They both feel tired of this place. Takahashi looks toward Tomoko. Tomoko keeps calling out for Higashi, wondering where he is. Takahashi thinks that everyone here only wants to follow their own wishes. He then notices the weak man sitting on top of some rubble. The man slowly shows his teeth, almost like a smile. Takahashi wonders if the man is laughing. He feels the man looks mentally unstable. Suddenly, Aino calls out from behind and tells everyone that he found some tools. He explains that they can use them for defense. He shows a machete, some matches to make fire, and fishing equipment. These tools can help them survive by catching fish. Both girls rush toward Aino, praising him for doing a good job. Seeing the fishing rods, Aino and the two girls grow quietly happy. Takahashi feels disturbed. He wonders if they really plan to eat fish from this sea, even though the water seems contaminated. Takahashi stands still while the others cast their lines and wait. Aino calls out to Takahashi and urges him to hurry and start fishing as well. Takahashi finally throws his line into the sea. In the next moment, he feels surprised when he sees Tomoko sitting nearby with a sad expression. Tomoko looks back at him with cold eyes. Takahashi wonders if she feels upset because they chose to fish instead of searching for Higashi. Suddenly, a fish gets caught on one of the rods. Takahashi quickly looks over. Aino reacts with excitement, noticing that it is a large fish. Soon after, more fish get caught on the other rods as well. Everyone feels relieved that they managed to find food. Then Takahashi feels his own rod being pulled. A fish is caught on his line too. Soon, every rod has a fish on it. From a distance, the weak man watches them fishing. He stares at them with cold eyes. He then looks down at his own hand and notices small, blister-like bumps forming on his skin. Shock spreads across his face, and he appears deeply disturbed. When they pull the fish out and place them on the ground, everyone freezes. The fish do not look normal. Their bodies appear strange and deformed. Aino comments that this place feels cursed, as if some disaster has struck it. Takahashi feels relieved, thinking at least they may not have to eat these fish. However, Aino suggests they eat them anyway. The two girls react in shock when they see the deformed fish. Still, without stopping, the two girls and Aino begin roasting the fish. Kuraki explains that similar fish are sold at cheap sushi restaurants or grocery stores. After discussing it together, the three of them decide to eat because they do not want to starve any longer. Takahashi is stunned when he hears this. The three of them sit together and cook the fish. Takahashi watches them and repeats the same thought in his mind that everyone here only does what they want. He looks up at the sky and sees the moon shining among the stars. With difficulty, they light a fire and cook the fish in an old container. They use bowls they find nearby and start eating with enjoyment. Takahashi stands at a distance and watches. Aino praises the taste and says such fish should be sold at a hot spring restaurant. Tomoko quietly watches them as well. Takahashi thinks that the three of them may be slowly losing their sanity. Suddenly, he looks down at his own bowl and freezes. Strange bumps cover the fish's skin. The fish is clearly deformed. Still, he ignores it, quickly eats it, and swallows without thinking. He believes that all of them are slowly going insane. The weak man asks if the fish tastes good. Takahashi looks down at his bowl again. The weak man approaches him and calls out to him while hiding his hand. Takahashi notices the swelling on his hand and asks about it. The man casually explains that he hit it against something and claims there is nothing to worry about. He quickly changes the subject and asks again about the taste of the fish. Takahashi feels confused but admits that the fish tastes fine, even if it is hard to believe. The man responds that another boy said the same thing earlier, just like everyone else. Hearing this, Takahashi looks at him with suspicion. The man explains that one day, a strange fish mixed in with a fisherman's catch. Slowly, more fish like it began appearing. Meanwhile, the other three continue eating happily. The man adds that at first, people stopped fishing and began raising pigs instead. However, the pigs never grew large enough to eat. Eventually, they had no choice but to return to eating fish. Over time, people started falling sick. They realized the fish was poisonous. Takahashi feels shocked as he listens. The man explains that slowly, everyone began to die. He then adds that some people survived. Instead of dying, they became something else. They became superhuman. Takahashi's eyes widened in disbelief. In the next moment, as he sees strange bubbles forming all over the man's body, the man claims that everything happening is the work of the gods. He believes he is one of the chosen ones. He starts laughing loudly and urges others to worship the gods. For a moment, Takahashi feels frozen. The others also turn toward the man in shock. Everyone stands still, unable to understand what is happening. The man sits on the ground as more strange bumps spread across his body. Ainu questions what is happening to him. Takahashi admits that he has no idea and that it started suddenly. Aino steps forward and tries to check on the man. At that moment, the man lifts his head and locks eyes with Aino. His body rapidly changes. Muscles form across his frame. His weak body transforms into a muscular one. The man suddenly grabs Aino's nose and squeezes it with brutal force. Aino struggles to escape, but the man pulls harder. With terrifying strength, he rips Aino's nose clean off. Aino screams in agony and collapses to the ground, crying in unbearable pain. Takahashi struggles to steady himself. He watches in horror as the man now stands fully muscular, holding Aino's nose in his hand. The man claims he does not need any weapons. He believes the power inside him comes from God, and he cannot control it. Fear overwhelms Takahashi as he stares at the severed nose. Everyone stands frozen in disbelief as they notice another man standing behind him. This is the pig-masked man holding a chainsaw. He turns it on and calls out his father to begin eagerly. Hearing this, everyone screams in terror. The man claims they found him hanging on that branch in a dried-up state because he was asking God for more strength. He calls them fools for spotting him up there on the cross. Takahashi instantly flashes back to the moment they lowered their friends from the tree. The man says he knows who they are and why they are here. He tells them it doesn't matter if they live or die because they are useless to him anyway. He slams something down hard and claims the Almighty sent him to test them. He demands they worship the gods to make them happy and feel some pride in themselves. The group grows even more terrified. The man tells them they should be happy and demands they put smiles on their faces. Takahashi spots some tools nearby. He thinks about using them, but his body feels frozen, and he knows he can't fight back for long. Suddenly, someone flips over a pot of boiling hot curry. Takahashi is shocked to see Uehara pouring the scalding liquid all over the man. The man's skin burns and blisters instantly. Everyone stands frozen in shock. The pig-faced man screams for his father and rushes to help him. Takahashi looks at Uehara, who stands there in total silence. While the pig-faced man tries to tend to his father, Uehara whispers that she has to take revenge for her senpai. Takahashi is stunned by the look on her face. The pig-faced man grabs a saw and charges at Uehara. He stands right over her and revs the saw loudly, staring directly into her eyes. Takahashi screams for Uehara to run. Uehara looks back at her friends and tries to run toward them, but they shout at her to stay away. They tell her to run in the opposite direction and not to drag them into her mess. The pig-faced man raises the saw high into the air. Uehara narrowly ducks under the swing and sprints away. The rest of the group scatters in the other direction. Takahashi watches them and thinks about how foolish they are. The pig-faced man chases Uehara until she trips and falls hard onto the ground. He catches up to her instantly. Just as he is about to bring the saw down on her head, Takahashi jumps in and strikes the man's head from behind. Takahashi yells at the man to stay away and not to lay a finger on Uehara. He smashes an iron pipe against the man's head, but it doesn't seem to hurt him. The man turns toward Takahashi with blood trickling from his eyes. He aims the saw at Takahashi. Takahashi swings again, but the man just gives a mocking smile. Then, something horrific happens. In a blur of motion, the man turns the saw on himself and rips it into his own stomach. Everyone screams as his intestines spill out onto the ground. It is a gruesome sight. The man laughs, saying that even though he cut himself, he feels no pain. He collapses to the ground. The group stands there, paralyzed by a mix of horror and confusion at why he would kill himself so quickly. Pre-Eyes looks at his own injured nose and feels a surge of rage. He starts kicking the muscular man's face repeatedly. Takahashi tries to stop him, but Pre-Eyes is too angry about his broken nose to listen. He screams that he will never forgive them. The others join in, kicking the pig-faced man and venting their terror and frustration. Fuji and Kuraki scream out their anger as they strike him. Takahashi notices everyone is busy attacking the two men, but then he looks at Uehara. She is holding a knife and staring at it with wide, creepy eyes and a strange smile. Takahashi calls out to her. She walks past him and sits by the father's head. She stares at him for a moment and then raises the knife high. Takahashi tries to stop her, but she ignores everyone and plunges the blade into the man. Takahashi is horrified, thinking Uehara has officially committed murder. But suddenly, the man reaches up and shoves a finger deep into Uehara's throat. Her eyes bulge out in shock. The man sits up and starts whistling a soft tune. Despite his burnt and mangled face, he tells them a small wound like that won't kill him. He mocks them, asking if he mentioned that he is different from everyone else. Takahashi watches in horror as the man's facial burns begin to heal right before his eyes. Inside a distant factory, a man begs for his life. He promises to tell his captor everything if he just lets him go. Another man stands over the injured victim, pointing a gun. He asks the bleeding man what his relationship is to the girl he brought to the island. The man with the pistol reveals that the girl is his daughter. Without a shred of mercy, he aims at the victim's head and fires. The man dies instantly. The shooter walks out of the factory and whispers for his daughter to stay strong because he is coming to save her. Back on the island, the terrifying man holds Uehara up in the air. Everyone watches in horror as his finger pierces completely through her neck and reaches her tongue. Takahashi screams and lunges forward with his iron pipe, but the man catches it with ease. He smiles, asking if Takahashi really thinks he can kill him with such a thing. He twists the metal pipe like it is paper. Takahashi realizes how insanely strong this guy is. Fuji yells from behind, urging Takahashi to hurry up and kill the old man. The pig-faced man stares at the girls from behind. His father begins to brawl with Takahashi, landing a heavy blow that sends the boy crashing to the ground. The man then shoves a finger deep into Takahashi's ear, rupturing his eardrum. Takahashi wriggles in agony, but he can't escape. Fuji and Pre-Eyes watch, paralyzed by fear as Takahashi screams in pain. The man lifts both Takahashi and Uehara into the air with his bare hands. The girls shriek as the man laughs loudly. Pre-Eyes and the girls try to run away, but the pig-faced man, named Kaoru, blocks their path. He is holding his own intestines in his hands and begins stuffing them back into his stomach. The girls are horrified to see he is still alive. The father calls out to Kaoru, mentioning that Kaoru isn't used to the smell of blood and might faint. The girls realize both of these men are total monsters. Kaoru tucks his guts under his shirt, buttons it up, and revs his saw. With blood streaming from his eyes, he advances on the girls. The father tells Kaoru to finish them off. Takahashi thinks this is the end, but suddenly, a hail of bullets hits the man's arm. He drops Takahashi and Uehara to nurse his wound. Takahashi looks back and sees a newcomer named Shaka. Shaka grumbles that he missed the headshot because he isn't used to firing shotguns. The father calls for Kaoru's help, but Kaoru is already running away in terror. Shaka mocks the man, saying his son fled at the mere sound of a gun. Shaka prepares to blow the man's head off, but the father quickly grabs Uehara and uses her as a human shield. He threatens to kill her if Shaka fires. Shaka coldly replies that the girl is a complete stranger to him and he doesn't care if she dies. Takahashi panics as Shaka pulls the trigger. Takahashi swings his iron pipe and knocks the gun aside, ruining the shot. He refuses to let Uehara be killed. Taking advantage of the chaos, the man grabs Uehara and bolts into the woods. Shaka fires another shot, but it misses. Takahashi tries to stop him from shooting again, so Shaka hits Takahashi with the butt of the gun, knocking him to the dirt. Shaka tries to take another shot at the fleeing man but misses again, making him fume with rage. Takahashi lies on the ground coughing because Shaka hit him in the throat, and Shaka kicks him in the face for interfering. Fuji notes that while they are safe for now, the monster took Uehara. Kuraki wonders who this mysterious gunman is. Pre-Eyes admits he has no idea, but since the man saved their lives, maybe they can team up with him to escape the island. We get a quick flashback to how Uehara first invited Takahashi to join the Ruins Research Club. She was handing out pamphlets, trying to explore the world, when she grabbed Takahashi's arm and pulled him along. She wanted them to feel like they were the same age and connected. Takahashi was shy and embarrassed, but she dragged him over to meet her friends, Fuji, Kuraki, and Pre-Eyes. They all welcomed him warmly, and Pre-Eyes officially introduced himself as the club president. Suddenly, the memory turns into a nightmare. Takahashi is standing there with a saw in his hand. Pre-Eyes asks him for his major and tells him to sign a registration form. Instead, Takahashi lunges forward and brutally hacks into Pre-Eyes' neck. Even as he dies, Pre-Eyes tells him not to forget to write down his name and address. Takahashi splits his head open, exposing his brain. He looks over and sees Uehara acting close with their senpai. In a fit of rage, Takahashi swings the saw at both of them and screams at the top of his lungs. Takahashi wakes up gasping. He is sitting on the side of a mountain peak. He looks over at his friends, who are eating some old, scavenged food. He rubs his eyes, realized it was just a sick, twisted dream. He spots Shaka nearby. Shaka remarks that Takahashi is finally awake and asks if he's okay. He tells Takahashi he's lucky to be alive after interfering earlier, warning him that he'll kill him if he gets in the way again. Takahashi asks Shaka who he is and why he's on the island. Shaka reveals he is searching for someone. Just then, the others shout that they found a boat and can finally leave. Fuji and Kuraki start dragging the boat toward the water, full of hope. Takahashi tells them to wait for Uehara, but Shaka suddenly fires his gun into the air. Everyone freezes in fear. Fuji apologizes for touching the boat without permission. Shaka orders them to empty the supplies from the boat. Pre-Eyes opens the bags to find a stash of shotguns, ammo, and swords. The group is terrified, wondering if the weapons are real. Shaka confirms they are. He explains that if you're going to war, you need weapons and soldiers, and he just found his soldiers. The group is baffled. They ask what war he's talking about. Shaka explains that besides them, there are other families on this island. He learned after killing a few of these creatures that these monsters don't die unless you decapitate them and chop them into pieces. These monsters are obsessed with trying to rebuild their families, and a total war is coming. Takahashi thinks Shaka is joking, and Pre-Eyes panics. Pre-Eyes yells that they only ended up here by accident and refuses to get involved in a war. He tells Shaka to fight his own battles. In response, Shaka points his gun at Pre-Eyes. Pre-Eyes begs for his life, but Shaka fires a shot at his feet, blowing a hole right through the boat. He fires a few more times, shredding the boat's air tubes and destroying their only way home. Shaka gives them a cold ultimatum, kill or be killed. Pre-Eyes glares at him in anger, but Takahashi steps forward and picks up a pistol. He realizes he has to do this to save Uehara. Meanwhile, Uehara wakes up in a dark, muddy, abandoned building. Her body aches. A voice from the shadows tells her not to move or her wounds will reopen. A girl with her face covered walks toward her. Uehara asks if she treated her injuries, and the girl confirms she did. However, Uehara notices the girl is wearing a pig face mask. The sound of the young girl's voice combined with that mask sends a chill down Uehara's spine. Back with the group, Shaka pulls out a photo and looks at it sadly. It's a picture of him with his daughter, the very same girl who is currently standing over Uehara in the mask. The group follows Shaka deep into the jungle, everyone armed but visibly trembling. Kuraki softly recites a poem titled The Dark Luminescence Tomorrow by an author named Miao, claiming the verses perfectly describe their grim situation. Fuji snaps at her to stop with the boring talk, already stressed enough. Pre-Eyes is struggling the most. Takahashi notices maggots gathering on Pre-Eyes' injured nose, their wriggling presence seemingly changing the color of the skin around them. Takahashi considers warning him but decides against it, thinking it will only cause more panic. He feels a wave of exhaustion and cold detachment washing over him. He decides he no longer cares about the others, his only goal is to find and save Uehara. He even eyes Shaka's back, wondering if he could knock the man out with a single hit while he looks tired. Elsewhere, the girl in the pink face mask confesses to Uehara that she never wants to go home. She reveals a dark past involving drug use and a man who promised her a better life by stealing money, only to betray her. That man was the same one Shaka brutally interrogated and killed. He had blamed the girl, claiming she forced him into crime and drug trafficking, which led to her being brought to this island. She tells Uehara that the villagers captured her and did something horrific to her body and face. Uehara tries to comfort her, saying a doctor can fix it, but the girl mentions a man with a gun, a man with a distinct scar on his forehead. Uehara realizes she is talking about Shaka. Shaka leads the group to a massive, looming structure called Kaiuchi Seafood, which looks like an old fish processing factory. Takahashi asks if families of monsters are inside. but Shaka tells them to stay back and fires a shot before entering alone. Outside, Kuraki and the others collapse in exhaustion, complaining that Shaka is pushing them too hard without rest. Inside, Shaka uses a map made by Kikuza to navigate. He finds a horrifying, human disposal factory, instead of a livestock barn. Behind iron bars, he sees humans who have been mutated, blind, crippled, and diseased, as if some plague hit the island. Shaka speaks to these zombies, promising to free them if they do one thing: kill the people standing outside. He threatens to shoot anyone who refuses. Unaware of the betrayal, Takahashi and the others are resting when the factory gates swing open. A horde of weapon-wielding monsters charges out. Takahashi screams as the group realizes these aren't just villagers, they are mindless killers. One monster lunges at Takahashi and bites his arm. Another group swarms Kuraki. One grabs her hair, others pin her down, and a third strikes her face with an axe as if splitting a log. Her face is torn apart instantly. Takahashi watches in absolute horror as his friend is butchered. High up on a nearby building, Shaka sits calmly, lighting a cigarette. He watches the slaughter with a cold, mocking smile. Back in the muddy building, the masked girl tells Uehara that Shaka is a literal demon. Uehara asks how she knows him. The girl looks terrified and whispers that he is the true devil of this island. She thought he would never return, but now she knows the island is about to become a living hell all over again. Shaka watches from his perch as the monsters tear Kuraki's jaw open with an axe. Her condition is critical, and she screams in agony. Takahashi finally snaps. He pulls out his pistol and, without worrying about his own safety, guns down the man with the axe. From a distance, Shaka coldly mumbles that they all deserve to die. Back at the muddy building, Uehara and the masked girl look up to see the father of the pig-faced man sliding down a rope toward them. He is carrying a pot of food. Uehara glares at him, calling him a liar, but the man acts friendly. He tells them they must be hungry and sets the pot down, claiming he wants to take care of them. He lifts the lid, and the aroma fills the air. Uehara's mouth waters, and she lunges for the food despite the masked girl's warnings to stay away. As Uehara looks into the pot, her excitement turns to pure horror. Inside lies a fresh human brain. She recoils in disgust. From above, the man and his son, Kaoru, burst into fits of laughter. They mock her, saying she shouldn't judge a meal before tasting it and that she'll never grow strong if she doesn't eat. Suddenly, a new woman appears. She has a twisted face and scalpels attached to her fingers. She strokes the father's face and mocks him for playing with girls while another boy with a gun is running loose on the island. With a swift, cruel motion, she uses her scalpel fingers to slice the man's nose and face. He screams in pain and begs his son for help, but Kaoru just laughs along with the woman. The masked girl whispers to Uehara that this is Mary, the eldest sister. She explains that Mary is a complete sadist who loves torturing people and is the most dangerous person on the island. Mary continues to mutilate the man until she hears a noise from another direction. Bored, she decides it's time to hunt. She licks the blood off her blades and tells the men to follow her. Below, the masked girl prays for her father, Shaka, to stay away, realizing he is the demon Mary is looking for. Outside the factory, Shaka enjoys the show as Takahashi and Priai's fight for their lives. Takahashi is like a man possessed, mowing down the mutated villagers. One monster bites Takahashi's arm, but he points his gun at its head and fires, blowing it away. Even though he's killing them, a part of Takahashi feels sick realizing these things were once human. Priai also steps up, jamming his gun into a female monster's throat and pulling the trigger. Fuji is stunned by how efficiently Takahashi and Priai are fighting. Together, they force the remaining monsters to retreat, shooting them in the back as they run. However, the victory feels empty. Kuraki is lying in a pool of blood, her face destroyed. Fuji desperately tries to stop the bleeding, begging her not to die. Takahashi looks at his blood-stained hands, feeling a mix of guilt and confusion over why he still cares about his friends after everything he's done. Shaka finally walks up to them, acting surprised. He asks why they killed everyone. The group is furious, asking where he was during the massacre. Shaka lies, saying he got lost in the factory and only came out when he heard the shots. He tells them what they did was terrible. Fuji snaps at him, shouting that they were just defending themselves while Kuraki is dying. Shaka doesn't care about their excuses. He looks past them and sees Mary approaching. He tells the group that they've destroyed the precious food of this family, and now, they are going to pay for it. He watches Mary's arrival with a dark grin, satisfied that the practice is over and the real nightmare is beginning. Mary glares at Shaka with burning eyes. Meanwhile, Shaka thinks this is only making things more exciting, and that the real fun is finally about to begin. The rest of his group, however, stand there completely terrified after seeing Mary right in front of them. Prez stares at her in disbelief and mutters that she is only a high school student, yet somehow there is real human skin attached to her face. At the same time, Shaka quickly adjusts his pistol, removes the magazine and bullets, then tosses them toward Fuji, Prez, and Takahashi. The three hurriedly gather the bullets and reload their guns as fast as possible. Takahashi also raises his pistol and aims forward. Shaka points his weapon directly at Mary, but deep inside he feels confused. He cannot understand why Mary is not rushing toward them even though he is openly standing there with a gun. Mary simply keeps staring at them with cold eyes, and little by little, a creepy smile begins spreading across her face. That strange smile unsettles Shaka. Suddenly, a massive rock comes flying from behind and slams into Shaka's pistol. The barrel bends sideways instantly, leaving Shaka completely stunned. The others panic as well after seeing the gun twisted apart. Before they can even react properly, another stone crashes directly into Prez's head. His pistol slips from his hand as he collapses onto the ground. When he struggles to stand again, Takahashi notices something horrifying. A sharp chunk of rock is lodged deep into Prez's skull. Fuji and Takahashi scream in fear while Prez himself cries out in agony, desperately trying to pull the stone free. Blood pours down his face while Fuji attempts to help him, but nothing works. Takahashi is still trying to understand where the attacks are coming from when another stone suddenly flies past him and slices across his cheek, leaving behind a deep cut. Only then does he realize the rocks are being thrown by the pig-faced man, Kaoru. Blood drips from Takahashi's cheek as Kaoru's father yells loudly from the side, angrily telling him to aim slightly more to the right. He shouts that this is already Kaoru's fourth miss and orders him to focus only on their faces. Kaoru grabs another huge rock and hurls it directly toward Takahashi. Takahashi quickly raises his gun, but the heavy stone smashes straight through it before crashing into him and throwing him onto the ground. Takahashi is horrified after realizing his gun has been completely destroyed. He cannot believe how powerfully that pig-faced boy can throw stones. Then Kaoru grabs a handful of smaller rocks because his father tells him throwing them one by one will not work. Instead, he should bombard them all at once. Meanwhile, Prez still has a massive stone lodged in his skull as Kaoru suddenly unleashes a storm of rocks toward all of them. The group struggles desperately to shield themselves while even the dead bodies around them get torn apart from the relentless barrage. Kaoru and his father continue screaming the names of their gods during the attack. Takahashi crouches low, protecting his head, when Shaka suddenly pulls out his katana from behind his back. Shaka calmly says that what he is about to do will at least keep the family members from getting hurt. Then he turns toward Mary and declares that they must attack her at close range immediately. With a furious scream, Shaka charges directly at Mary while holding his katana forward. Mary quietly comments that among all these boys, Shaka might be the only one with real courage. Shaka rushes in and begins attacking wildly. He swings from the right, then the left, then from above and below, striking non-stop from every direction possible. Yet none of his attacks manage to cut Mary's body even once. Shaka becomes increasingly shocked while Takahashi watches in disbelief as every slash fails completely. After exhausting himself from swinging his sword over and over, Shaka begins breathing heavily. Mary slowly steps closer and extends her claw-like fingers toward his skull. She calmly tells him that since he is already tired, now it is finally her turn. Shaka angrily shouts back that some filthy woman attacking him is no problem at all, and that he will teach her a lesson instead. But in the very next moment, Mary lunges forward with terrifying speed. Her claws slash across Shaka's body so fast that within only a couple of seconds, countless deep cuts appear all over him. Takahashi watches in horror as Mary moves like a monster. She leaps left and right faster than the eye can follow, carving through Shaka's body from every direction like blades slicing through paper. Shaka cannot even track her movements, while all of his own attacks have been completely useless against her. Finally, Shaka collapses onto his knees as blood sprays endlessly from the wounds covering his body. Mary keeps glaring at him with pure rage, while Takahashi slowly realizes the horrifying truth: every single one of them may already be standing at death's door. Shaka drops to his knees, barely able to stay conscious. He covers his ruined face with one hand while staring sideways at Mary. Then, in desperation, he suddenly rushes toward her again while shielding his face. But the moment he attacks, Mary instantly disappears from sight. In the next second, she appears directly above him and coldly whispers that he is far too slow. Right after saying that, she begins tearing into him with her claws again. Her attacks rain down non-stop, carving deep cuts all across Shaka's face until it is completely covered in wounds. Shaka screams endlessly in pain while Takahashi watches the horrifying scene with growing fear. Shaka eventually collapses onto the ground, but Mary keeps attacking him without mercy. Takahashi slowly realizes this may truly be the end, and that everyone there might die tonight. Meanwhile, the pig-faced boy Kaoru excitedly cheers from the side, loudly praising Mary and yelling for her to kill them all and tear them into pieces. As Takahashi glances toward Kaoru, an idea suddenly flashes through his mind. Beside him, Fuji is crouched down while covering her face in fear. Takahashi quickly tries grabbing the gun from her hand, but Fuji refuses and desperately tells him not to take it away. Takahashi explains that Kaoru clearly fears loud gunshots, and if they scare him enough, they might finally get a chance to escape. But Fuji still resists and accuses Takahashi of only thinking about himself. Takahashi denies it, yet Fuji continues refusing to let go. Finally, Takahashi makes a harsh decision and punches Fuji hard in the face. Even then, Fuji tightly clings onto the weapon while Takahashi's hands begin trembling. At that exact moment, Mary suddenly appears behind him and calmly comments that hitting a girl is not a good thing to do. Takahashi freezes in terror after realizing she is standing right behind him. Nearby, Shaka can no longer endure the pain and collapses completely. Mary gently grabs his face and quietly tells him that his face actually looks very cute, and that she wants it for herself. Takahashi screams in horror as Mary slowly extends the blades hidden beneath her nails and starts slicing across Shaka's face. Shaka howls in agony but is completely powerless to stop her. Prez and Fuji can only sit there in fear while Mary calmly says she has been searching for a new face mask anyway. Kaoru and his father continue watching from the side as his father comments that Mary has finally started enjoying her little games. Mary happily adds that she especially likes the faces of young men. Takahashi's eyes fill with tears while blood pours down his face. Neither Prez nor Fuji can do anything to help. Then suddenly, despite all her injuries, Kaoru's wounded ally slowly regains consciousness. She breathes heavily after losing so much blood, but the moment she sees Mary standing over Takahashi, she quickly grabs the pistol lying beside her. While struggling to stay alive, she declares that they are not leaving their friends behind and that they are not dying in a place like this. With trembling hands, she fires the gun. The loud gunshot immediately catches everyone's attention. Fuji quickly turns around in shock, only to realize the bullet did not hit Mary at all. Instead, it strikes Kaoru directly, causing him to collapse onto the ground. Fuji suddenly smiles with relief after realizing their injured friend is still alive. But when the next shot is fired, the bullet accidentally slams into Prez's stomach instead. Prez screams in pain and angrily asks if she has gone insane because she completely missed the target. He falls onto the ground while Fuji rushes toward him in panic. Meanwhile, after ruining Takahashi's face, Mary slowly turns toward the injured girl and mockingly comments that the foolish girl has started shooting her own friends instead. Still lying on the ground, the wounded girl fires again. This time, the bullet finally strikes Mary directly in the arm. Kaoru and his father stare in shock after hearing Mary scream in pain. That brief opening gives Takahashi enough time to sit back up. But just as the wounded girl tries aiming another shot at Mary's face, a huge rock suddenly crashes directly into her eye. Takahashi and Fuji are horrified after realizing Kaoru and his father have started bombarding her with rocks again in order to protect their beloved Mary. The stones continue raining down mercilessly while Fuji desperately screams at them to stop. During the chaos, Takahashi notices Mary quietly humming to herself, almost as if she is enjoying the entire horrifying scene. Seeing an opportunity, Takahashi quickly reaches for the gun. But before he can grab it properly, Mary suddenly steps on his hand and tells him not to move so fast. She asks what exactly he was planning to do. Then she slowly extends the blades hidden beneath her nails again and grabs Takahashi's face. Smiling softly, she admits that she truly loves faces filled with fear. Suddenly, from behind them, Shaka somehow forces himself back onto his feet. Covered in countless wounds, with his face almost unrecognizable, he shouts at Mary and calls her a disgusting pig-faced monster. He yells that he is her real enemy and demands that she fight him instead. Annoyed, Mary replies that he should stop interrupting her whenever she is trying to enjoy herself. She coldly tells him that he should already be dead. Shaka spits back another insult and demands that she come after him instead. Mary instantly lunges toward him with terrifying speed. But the moment she reaches him, a violent shock suddenly blasts through her body and throws her backward onto the ground. Takahashi lets out a terrified scream after witnessing the horrifying scene. Both Shaka and Mary are thrown backward onto the ground at the same time. Takahashi stares in confusion, unable to understand what just happened. Then he notices something shocking in Shaka's hand, a stun gun. Shaka had used his own body as a conductor and sacrificed himself just to stop Mary. Takahashi realizes that despite acting reckless the entire time, Shaka had incredible courage. Barely able to breathe, Shaka weakly tells Takahashi to hurry up, grab the sword, and kill Mary before she wakes up again. He keeps repeating that if she regains consciousness, every single one of them will die. Takahashi freezes for a moment, unsure of what he should do. Meanwhile, Kaoru and his father stare in shock after seeing Mary collapse. Kaoru quickly asks his father for another stone, and his father hurriedly hands him a massive rock while yelling that they should crush everyone immediately. But before Kaoru can even throw it, the giant rock suddenly explodes apart in his hands. His fingers are violently torn off, and part of his arm is badly destroyed. Kaoru screams in agony while staring in horror at the damage. At that same moment, Fuji appears behind them while firing her shotgun non-stop. She advances forward with rage burning in her eyes and declares that she will never forgive them. Kaoru is already terrified of loud gunshots, so he immediately covers his ears in panic. Fuji fires directly into his stomach, causing him to collapse while screaming in pain. She coldly tells him that this is revenge for Senpai. Then she fires another shotgun blast straight into his neck before aiming at Kaoru's father as well. His father desperately begs her to stop, but Fuji ignores him and pulls the trigger again, killing both father and son in a storm of bullets. Takahashi watches Fuji in disbelief, and for the first time since the nightmare began, he feels a small amount of courage returning to him. He quickly grabs his sword and places it against Mary's neck. But for a brief second, he hesitates. Behind him, Shaka keeps yelling at him to stop wasting time and finish her off immediately. Shaka warns him that if Mary survives, all of them will die. Takahashi stares into Mary's open eyes while trying to gather the courage to act. Then, before she can resist, he tightens his grip on the sword and swings it across her neck. Mary tries to struggle, but it is already too late. Takahashi feels the blade slicing through her neck and even cutting through bone before completely separating her head from her body. Behind him, Shaka slowly forces himself back onto his feet, barely able to stand. With a weak smile, he praises Takahashi and says he did a good job. In the end, the three monsters, Kaoru, his father, and Mary, are finally killed. Two are torn apart by shotgun blasts, while Mary loses her head completely. Takahashi and Shaka silently stare at the bodies lying around them. Shaka quietly mutters that they really managed to kill all three of them. Takahashi looks toward Shaka while wondering what their next move should even be now. Suddenly, Fuji screams in surprise from behind them after realizing Prez is still alive. Takahashi immediately rushes toward them in shock. Fuji kneels beside the badly wounded girl and desperately tells her not to die yet because they already defeated the enemies together. Despite her body being covered in terrible wounds, the injured girl weakly says there is something important she needs to confess before she dies. Fuji quickly leans closer and asks her what she wants to say. In a faint voice, the girl admits that she had secretly been dating Senpai. The confession leaves Fuji completely stunned. Takahashi is equally shocked after hearing it. The girl continues explaining that once or twice every month, she and Senpai used to go to hotels together. She admits she felt guilty toward Hara because of it, but at the same time, she also enjoyed those moments. Takahashi cannot understand why she is suddenly confessing all of this now. He also wonders if Hara ever knew the truth. The injured girl then reveals something even more shocking. She says that Fuji had also been dating Senpai, and she already knew about it because she once saw the two of them together behind the school building. She bitterly admits that she believed Fuji was trying to steal him away from her, and because of that, she never intended to let Fuji have him. Takahashi is left speechless after realizing Fuji had secretly been dating Senpai too. Far away from them, Mary's severed head lies silently on the ground with one eye still open. Even after being decapitated, Mary quietly watches the three of them arguing among themselves. But she does not move at all.